Hey there, beautiful souls. I am back again, and today I am very excited about the message that I have to give to you because, again, it's coming from this really meaningful place for me in my life right now. So my hope is that me sharing some of my human experience in those moments might resonate with you as you're a fellow human being. And today's message is one that I feel is the foundation of basically everything. You know, if you look at life as there's a trade going on of power, and oftentimes we perceive that we are powerless, or that we have to give away that which is our own power, whether we're conscious of it or not, in trade for other people's power, or outsourcing our own empowerment. And if you've ever been somebody doing that, which I think is every single human being, you realize down the track at some stage that all that trading, all that trying to be and do things that others may want you to be and do, it never actually empowers you. And if you're one of the lucky ones, you don't get so disempowered that you give up on actually empowering yourself in your life. Many people do. This is where addiction comes from as well, this trading of our power to get love, to get connection. And when that fails, because we're not actually having anything that we're really bringing to the table that is true and centered and giving within us, it's all a needy grab for the power that we've gone to sleep to from within, and in the delusion that we need to get it from some external source. You know, if we're one of the lucky ones, we'll wake up to the patterns of trade that are inevitable. You know, we all have a child self. You know, we all have these different archetypes within that we have to develop. You know, we have to expand. We have to, empower ourselves from within. And sometimes it takes getting into so much pain and torment in our external world and all the trading that we're doing of our own power, whether conscious or not, to finally reach breaking point, to realize and have enough experiences that nobody externally is ever going to empower you. That is up to you. And I love this quote from one of my faves, Dr. John Demartini. He says that wherever you feel disempowered in your life, somebody else will come in and overpower you. Okay, and so I love keeping that in mind with a topic like this, because basically the message for today, and I really want to check in with you guys, so as you are joining, drop some comments and please, engage in this conversation. It's not just me talking at you. I'd love to hear your perspectives, your wisdom, your experiences, anything that's coming up for you, or any questions that you want to put to me or our amazing community here. Like, this is our space to really grow and get intrigued and empowered in our lives. So I value that. And a quick hey to Brian and Glenn and Paul and Dennis and George joining me. Can't wait to see how this impacts you. But today I want to talk to you guys about the only true cause of your disempowerment is within your power to change. Okay, and so this one is not a message that most general people are going to like, right? Because we all love to handball the responsibility of our life to others. Them, it's not us failing, it's them, right? It's not us, basically just not being able to get the life that we want. It's always up to somebody else. It's our life circumstances. It's, some relationship that we're in. It's our family. It's our upbringing. It's our environment. It's, the economy. It's whatever those things are that we would prefer to handball the responsibility of to others. And we mistake that as a sense of freedom. Whereas the truth is, our true freedom is on the other side of self-responsibility. And that takes a long time to get. I'm still on the journey. You guys may be as well. But basically, we want to think about, like, wherever we're disempowered, like, for instance, I have a couple of different areas in my life that are in my conscious awareness of where I'm still feeling a sense of disempowerment. And what that alerts me to is the fact that wherever I'm feeling disempowered, it's because I'm not taking responsibility for what I'm thinking, my perceptions, my meanings, the thoughts that are going on in my mind, my emotional states that are connected to this person or this environment or this circumstance. And I'm not taking control and responsibility of my communication, and I'm not taking responsibility for my behavior. So that can feel like, oh, I don't want to admit that. But what's so valuable and exciting about admitting that is that you realize, oh, all of the things that are creating this circumstance where I'm feeling so disempowered are actually within my control. I get to choose what I think. I get to choose my emotional state. I get to choose how I choose to communicate here. I get to choose how I behave. And look, this is not easy, but it's certainly helpful to get the clarity over that, right? So in my life, I have particularly one relationship in which I am still so engaged in the child role that I've never known any different, and I feel very disempowered because that aspect of me is playing the child, right? It's not taking responsibility for its thoughts or its feelings and emotions or how I'm choosing to communicate or behave. It's staying stuck in the patterns of the communication and the behaviors of that child, like a child would, right? And there's all sorts of payoffs for us to stay disempowered. One of the underlying ones for me, and you can try this on for size with yourself, is that if I empower myself, I'll lose connection with those people in my life, because my story has been because they like contributing to me. They like having me in this comfortable position that feels good for them, where they get to be, the adult or the superior one. And for me to shift and change or take my cog out of that system and that dynamic could mean the end of connection with those particular people, right? And what you have to be willing to do is lose what your current experiences are in order to gain the ones that your soul and your spirit ultimately yearn for, right? And so that is not an easy game, and particularly when it's been throughout our entire existence, right? So this particular relationship that I have worked so hard on, and it's like it's an evolution and there's always another layer to it. It's definitely this, this child-adult dynamic going on in it that, like I've never played a different role, and this person has known me my entire life, right? So if I've never practiced a different experience. I've never practiced a different set of thoughts. I've never practiced a change of my emotional state. I've never practiced a change in my communication. I've never practiced a change in my behavior, right? And so what has to happen to unlock all the years of those ingrained thoughts, feelings, and communication styles and behaviors is actually like a real lot of work to do that. So you have to ultimately value the quality of that relationship, and more importantly, value your own quality of relationship with yourself and the honoring of your own expansion as a human being, right? And one of the biggest things I've learned from this, like going through this awareness and really unpacking, what am I currently thinking? What am I feeling? What am I saying? What am I doing? What's the pattern here that's at play that I just drop into every time I'm in this dynamic, right? What we have to do is get clear on that and then define, what we ultimately want. And that's actually what I've been doing recently. Some of you guys might know the incredible work of Dr. Joe Dispenza. I had the absolute pleasure of getting to attend one of his events in Melbourne here just a few weeks ago. And it really re-sparked my desire to get back into his guided meditations. And so I've been practicing the morning and the evening guided meditations that he offers. And this is basically the practice of defining a vision for your future, who you choose to be, and making that so much more empowering and embodied than the memories of the past, right? The memories of the past self, that you can continue to practice that in your own state of being, and then gradually inch that out into your external world so that you can re-empower yourself in those dynamics. And you might want to start small, right? Like you might just want to look at areas of your life that are new disempowerments, you know, making a shift potentially in some sort of health dynamic, or maybe you've got a new relationship and you know you're noticing some little things popping up there that are a bit disempowering, like to focus on those shifts and changes now, right? That when they're really small, instead of maybe tackling the biggest massive ones straight away. But I've set out a few little questions for you guys, just some journaling prompts, if you want to look at and really build some awareness around where currently in your life you're feeling a sense of disempowerment, whether it's in a circumstance or whether it's in an area of your life or whether it's in a particular relationship or set of relationships, wherever that is. Those questions that I've put on the title of this message today, for those of you who want to take action and really get some clarity and empowerment for yourself, you can go into those. But one of the great ways of looking at things is also through the work on archetypes. And I periodically go through these cycles if I go back into archetypal work. Now, what I mean by archetype is basically, you know, if I was to say, oh, that person's such a princess, right? Like you'd know what I was talking about, right? It's a set of characteristics that define and give like a new layer of language within such a minimal wording, right? As to what you're trying to describe. And we all have these archetypal patterns. They're not actually who we are at our core. They're patterns of behavior, patterns of thinking, patterns of feeling, patterns of our communication, and patterns of behaviors and actions that we engage in for our survival, basically. You know, to be and do who we think and what we think others will want from us or others will approve in our external world, so that we can just survive, right? We can stay in connection, we can have love, we can be successful, we can do all of these things, we can be happy, right? But if they're left unconscious, they're usually at play in pretty unresourceful ways, right? They've all got beautiful, positive intentions for you, right? They want to keep you safe. They want to keep you in connection. They want you to be happy. They want you to be protected, whatever those things are, right? But they usually go a bit array, like when you're not bringing conscious awareness to them. And I like the simplicity of working with Caroline Myss. She works with the 4 archetypes of survival. I've spoken to you guys about these over the years in my previous videos, but some of them are basically, if we look at the top 4, these survival archetypes, which Caroline Myss would actually state that throughout her work and her experience with working with hundreds of thousands of people at this stage in her journey, she's discovered that every single human being has these 4 survival archetypes. And wasn't going to go into depth with this because I don't want to make it too long of a message, but just to give it a quick overview, because I find these archetypes so helpful in clarifying where I'm disempowered, right? Because they're all trading their power to get some sort of power from the external world, right? They're all stuck in this delusion until we bring conscious awareness and shine light on their shadows and actually give them what they need in a resourceful way. Listen to them, hear them, and redirect them through love rather than fear, right? But number one, we all have this archetype of the child, right? That child within that it actually needs protection. It wants to feel safe. It often becomes over responsible for how people are responding to it in the external world. And it feels guilty. It feels ashamed. It feels like it must be bad. It doesn't know how to take responsibility for itself, right? There's this part of us that is that inner child, and it's looking for people to keep it safe and protected and, give it attention and praise it and guide it, right? And we often trade our power when the child, the shadow side of the child is at play. But we also have this other archetype, the victim, right? That feels hard done by, that feels like it's out of control of its life and environment. It feels like no matter what it does, it can't win, right? We all have that victim part of us that is at play in the shadows when we don't bring light to it and help it become the creator of its own life and destiny. We also have the survival archetype of the saboteur, all right? That part of us that sabotages our success. We might define something that we're inspired by and that we want to do or create or, and then the saboteur inside of us says, oh no, you're kidding, right? Like that could set you up for failure, right? We don't want that. Like, no, you're not capable of that. Just take it easy. Just stay in your comfort zone, right? We've all got that survival archetype, right? And we also have the last survival archetype is of the prostitute. Now, the prostitute within us might not be trading its physical body or its sexuality, but it is trading its power in some way, right? There is a part in all of us that has that prostitute. And when it's operating in its shadow aspects, believe it or not, there's a positive side to the prostitute, but when it's operating from its shadow aspects, it is trading power for safety and security, right? It thinks everything has to be a trade. I have to give away my power in order to survive, all right? And so this is a really key one that we want to look at within ourselves as well. And so I had an experience yesterday, because as you guys know, a couple of days ago, I just jumped on my Facebook Lives and I did come through my journaling and I was really connected with my spirit, and I just knew no more putting this off. Like, I just wanted to come back and flow with you guys because it's part of my purpose, right? And what happened yesterday, I had a really big day, and usually I like to give these messages to you guys in my morning because that's when I'm in my flow. I've meditated, I've journaled, I'm connected, I feel inspired and alive. I feel most like myself, and I just want to connect and share with you guys. And I made a commitment a couple of days ago when I did that Facebook Live. I'm like, I'm showing up every day, right? I'm just going to go into that. And I went through all the archetypes of survival yesterday. I went through my saboteur that was like, oh, no, wait a minute. Like, do you really want to do that? Do you really want to commit to that? Like, that's a lot of work. Like, and making all these excuses like, people won't want to hear from you that regularly. Like, what are you doing? You're gonna be too much. You're gonna be too much, right? And like all the excuses came forward, right? And also my archetype of the child came through, and it was wanting. It was just like playing this like little game, like just playing it small, just like fear and insecurity. And, that's part of like us outsourcing, our validation into the external world, which is not the reason I want to be where I want to be coming from in my work and my purpose and my mission in this world. Right. And then there was, the prostitute came forward, and that was all about, I actually ended up trading my purposeful creation with you guys and getting on a message and just delivering from my heart. Like, I traded that for a different connection that didn't end up being the right strategy, right? But I was in a scarcity mode, right? My love was not abundant in its expression. It felt like, oh, if I do this, then I'm taking away from this. Like, I got stuck in a past pattern. And then the victim in me came forward based on the trades of my prostitute archetype. It felt victimized because I had sacrificed what was important to me and expected somebody else to also do the same, which is never a good strategy. All right. So this is why, like, I wanted to just kind of highlight this, because I could stay stuck in all of the stories of my fearful child or my terrified victim or my trading prostitute or my saboteur with a million excuses as to not bother, right? I could stay stuck in all of those levels of disempowerment. But that's not who I choose to be, right? The vision I have for my future, the vision I have and the clarity I have of the qualities of human being I choose to be outweigh, sometimes only just, the fears and the memories of the past and those survival strategies, right? And so me actually showing up and connecting with you guys online is actually the most beautiful practice for me where I am right now, because I had to take time off to really purify all the reasons why I do what I do, all the reasons why I engage with who I do, all the reasons why I'm in the relationships that I'm in, all the reasons that drive every area of my life, and tune into love, right? Basically, tune into the awareness of fearful directives and be able to discern those from my love and the courage to take action in alignment with love. And looking at my archetypes and knowing what they sound like, knowing what they feel like, knowing what their actions are, right? I like to be aware of that and apply that to any time I'm feeling disempowered or making disempowering choices or being a follower of fear rather than a leader of love in any area of my life with any relationship. And so I hope that just me sharing this, and I know it was kind of a ball of wire with all these ideas with you guys today, but I hope that something landed for you in all that I've shared. And if you do want to go deeper and just to have a new check-in point, make today's message just this like little reminder to go, hang on a minute, let me see if some disempowerment is creeping into my life, maybe flying under the radar a little bit. Let me just take a moment. Let me give myself 10, 15 minutes to just check in and grab your journal or just wherever you have some writing space and just to answer the questions that I've put up on today's message. And I'd love to hear from you guys as to what you may discover, because it was definitely a good investigation for me today. So let me check in and say hi to you guys, and drop me any comments, and wherever you are in the world today, I'd love to hear from you. Any words of wisdom or questions for myself or the community. I love making this a co-creative space with you. And if you do find value in this message, you can share it with your loved ones, or just have a chat with them. Go deeper in your own connection with them, with yourself and with them, right? That's what life is about. So let's have a look. I've got Brian and Glenn and Paul and Dan and George and Mark. Yes, Vanessa, no one had the power to cause you to do anything in your life unless you give it to them. Yeah, and you know what? Even when you give them the power, like you think you're giving them the power to make the choices and direct your life, it's still you. You're just trapped in this human delusion that other people are determining the course of your life for you. In fact, you know, we know that no decision is the decision, right? And so that is in your control always. But if we have all sorts of stories and limiting beliefs connected, you know, the biggest driving force and limiting belief that has created the most disempowerment in my life has been holding a belief pretty deep rooted, which was my value is determined by others. And if I carry around a belief like that, what that really means is I'm not going to be myself, right? I'm going to be whoever the people around me I perceive they value. I'm going to become that. I'm going to shape shift into that, because without their reflection and validation and approval or admiration, I didn't have a sense of self. You know, like I wouldn't know who I was. I wouldn't believe in any set of value within me, right? Like, and whether we're conscious of these limiting beliefs or not, there are some really deep-seated ones. So if you can start to notice your patterns of disempowerment, we can go deeper on that. We can really dive to the real root cause, and we can work on the domino that will actually make the difference, right? The difference that will make the difference is discovering what is at the root cause of you disempowering yourself. And it ain't in anybody else's power to do. It's all up to you. And you know, that's a big part of what I love doing, is helping to awaken people to their own power, their own beauty, their own immense greatness that they're just blind to. They've left in the shadows, and we shine light on that, right? And so just looking at your archetypes is just such an easy, simple, beautiful way, and so deep and so empowering to do. So I also encourage you guys to check out Caroline Miss's work if you haven't already. And thank you so much for your comments there, Mark. I really appreciate you being here. And Syed's here, and Brian, and Shane, and Aoni, and Judith, and Javier's here, and Haru. Love and gratitude and shining on Divine One right back at you, my friend. Always grateful to have you join live. And Lisa's here. Good to see you. And Kobe, awesome. And Scott, and Arissa, and Ricardo, and Mark. Yes, the only opinion of who you are that counts is the one you maintain. Absolutely. And I'm really excited, actually. Like, I've been doing some really deep inner work on my own character and who I'm proud of myself to be, right? Like, and I've created all these posters of my what I call my ABCs of being me. I'll create a message when I get them all up on my wall. I'll share that with you guys, and hopefully it inspires you to get really clear on who it is that you're proud of yourself to be, right? Like a definition of who you choose to be in this lifetime, your highest possible self, the one that no matter what anybody else could say or judge, if you are in alignment with those qualities, it just really wouldn't matter, because you know that you're being your higher self. And when you know you're being your higher self, and that's coming from a deep-seated love, the fears of others are seen for the fears of others. You actually become a much more loving, compassionate person for all those around you when you're in alignment with your higher self and no longer dependent upon them to define your value. So yeah, love that, Mark. That's awesome. And Roya has just joined. Great to have you. For those of you just joining now, I hope you catch a recording. Hope this message adds some value to you. And I'd absolutely love to hear from you guys. So drop those comments or reach out anytime if I can support you in any way. You know, I want to share more about my purpose and you know how I'm choosing to show up in this world from this amazing time that I've had over these past 9 months to really just go to a whole new level within. And I'm using this space with you guys to really practice to bring that awareness of my inner world and connection to it. I'm inching my way back out into everywhere in life, and so I'm very grateful for the opportunity to provide any sort of value to you guys through these messages and practice my own inner empowerment as well. So I want to empower you, and I'm empowering myself as we go along as well. So much love to each and every one of you guys. Thank you so much for showing up live, and or if you're catching the recording, tuning in and spending some time here. Hope it's worth your time, and it's definitely worth mine, and I can't wait to see you guys very, very soon. So much love. Mwah.